Welcome into a Week 18 edition of Buffalo Bills Weekly, where we tell you everything going on at One Bills Drive. He's Chris Brown, I'm Maddy Glab. In this week's episode, we'll share our best surprises from Buffalo this season. We'll look ahead to the final week in the regular season and much more. While the Bills have one game left on the road, they finished the regular season undefeated at home, going 8-0. On offense, they've averaged 34 points per game. On defense, allowed 17.6 points per game at home. They've scored at least 30 points in all but one home game. This is an important identity to have as a team who's going to host a couple playoff games.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing they get from that is confidence. And going into the postseason, you want your team confident, especially in their own building. It's one thing to walk down that tunnel ramp here at Highmark Stadium hoping you're going to win. I believe, based on the season they've had here at home this season, they walk down that ramp knowing they're going to win. They are tough to beat here.
It's about the play on the field, but it's also about the fans in the stands. They've provided an incredible environment all season long, and they'll continue to do that in the playoffs. There are so many positives that have come out of the season, both on offense and on defense, as we reflect on all the things that made us smile, such as the fact that the Bills are the second best offense in the NFL, averaging over 31 points per game so far this season. What is your most pleasant surprise on offense, Chris?
I think it is that point production, Maddy, because I think if we go back to the beginning of the regular season, you have a new full-time coordinator in Joe Brady. We think about all of the player turnover at the receiver position in particular, and I think we all believed there would be a slow and steady build to this offense. And look, I thought by the end of the season, by this time of the year, I thought the Bills had a chance with the right player development to be an even better team than they were last year at this time, and I think they are, but in no way did I think they were going to set a franchise record for points scored with 509 with a game to still play and be second in the league in points per game. That is the biggest surprise for me.
The Bills had a new offensive coordinator this season in Joe Brady. You've got a cast of new characters on offense. It takes time to build chemistry as a group. It takes time to figure out how your quarterback operates in Josh Allen, and it takes time to buy into that greater goal. I mean, 13 different players caught a touchdown pass this season. That ties for a regular season record in the NFL. They have a chance to even increase that number with one final game remaining. They've accomplished so many things, and they deserve kudos because of all the extra time that this group put in to make it work with so many different faces. As we switch to defense, what's your biggest surprise that came out of this defense this season?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with the way Bobby Babich, another new coordinator, was able to maintain the new philosophy that Sean McDermott enacted last year when he was calling plays on defense, and that was to shift from a bend but don't break, get off the field on third down defense to a splash play defense, and Bobby Babich carried that into this season successfully. When you look at the takeaways, they're tied for the league lead with 31. Their turnover margin's great. You have to tip your hat to the offense for that. But I think even the sacks, I know this team isn't known as a sack the quarterback defense, but they've got the 10th most sacks in the league. They're 11th in quarterback pressures. So these are areas where they're still excelling, maybe not tip top of the league, but good enough to be an effective defense, and 7th in the league in tackles for loss. So these are all splash plays in addition to the interceptions and the forced fumbles and the fumble recoveries. And I think that's where Bobby Babich has really been able to hang his hat this year.
Yeah, you look at this defense as a whole coming into the season and you thought this is going to be a great bunch, but then the injuries started to come. It started off with one of their starting linebackers in Matt Milano, who missed a big part of the season. Then their nickel cornerback gets injured in Taron Johnson, and then it's their middle linebacker and Terrell Bernard, and you're looking around thinking, who's going to put it all together? But yet the splash play mindset didn't drop off. The takeaways continued to come in bunches, and I think that speaks to the type of coaching that we have inside of this building. The backups were so prepared, and if you talk to the backups during the season, they said, our coaching staff and our starters have so much confidence in us, and that helps us when we go out on the field. We believe that we can make an impact, and they definitely did. The Bills have a plus 23 turnover margin right now. That's an offensive and a defensive stat. If they finish the regular season with better than plus 21, they'll be the first team to do so in the NFL since the Patriots did it in 2012. That's a huge number. That's an important stat. It really helps you win games. We're going to take a break, but when we return, we'll tell you what we want to see out of the Bills in this final week of the regular season before the playoffs begin. Don't go anywhere.
When we return, Maddy Glab interviews NHL star Logan Couture in this week's episode of You Heard, and then later catch the press conference highlights in Soundbite Roundup.
What's up, everyone? This is Logan Couture, and you've just heard.
Welcome into this week's episode of You Heard, where we feature athletes, celebrities, and influencers talking all about their NFL fandom. In this week's episode, we've got San Jose Sharks star Logan Couture joining us. Logan, thanks so much for taking the time to chat a little football in the middle of hockey season.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we know you're from Ontario, so you're close to Buffalo. When did you start following the Bills?
As long as I can remember, I was born in '89, so I was growing up during the heydays of Buffalo football, where they went to those Super Bowls. And my uncle was a big Bills fan, watched every game, so I think he got me in the Bills stuff when I was young. My dad was actually a Cowboys fan, so I chose the Bills over the Cowboys. So this is, as long as I can remember, the Bills are they're neck and neck with the Blue Jays for the two teams that I watch and follow the most. So I'm happy to see the last bunch of years how much success that the Bills have had.
As you reflect on Buffalo's season so far, what sticks out to you this year?
It's been wild going into this year. I mean, at least myself, I try to follow it as close as I can, but my expectations weren't as high as they have been in years past. Obviously, made some moves in the summer, and the start was good. Then we lost a couple in a row, and the team's been playing unbelievable football. Josh is as good as he's ever been right now, and it's been fun just to go into watching games with the mindset that the team's going to win. It's a different type of mindset, and I'm excited. I mean, big game on Sunday coming up here, and then the real thing starts for him.
You said you love watching Josh Allen. I think everybody enjoys watching a quarterback like that who can do so much on the ground and in the air. He's broken so many records again this season. Why do you think he deserves being named the 2024 NFL's MVP?
I think just because what I said, the expectations weren't that high. This team wasn't supposed to be as good as teams in the past, and Josh has played just on an extremely high level all season. Maybe he's had a few tough games, but other than that, he's been on top of his game. I think he deserves it. It could go to maybe Lamar as well, but I think Buffalo fans would be upset if that were to happen, and I agree with them.
You spoke about the fact that a lot of people thought this team would maybe take a step back. The expectations were different this year because so many different faces walked into this building in the offseason. Is there any player on this roster that surprised you this season that you've really enjoyed watching?
I think just the whole receiver group, Shakir, Coleman, they got Amari Cooper. Everyone stepped up different games this year. It's been fun to watch. So creative on offense. Different plays. I just love to watch to see what they're doing. James Cook as well has been unbelievable. They've been able to run the ball the last year and a half a lot better than they did prior to that, and I think that that'll help them in a few weeks.
Is there any current NFL player that you'd love to see put skates on to see? Can you do this? Do you even have a chance?
I think a lot of them probably have never skated. It's just a guess. I know there's been a couple. JJ Watt comes to mind that he played when he was younger. I'm sure some of the Canadian NFL players played hockey at some point in their lives as well. But sure, I'd love to see Josh Allen try and skate. I don't know what his skill level would be, but it'd be entertaining.
He seems like he's just the type of athlete where you try any sport and you're going to be good at. We've seen it in golf with him. He's continued to get better, I think, every offseason at the game of golf. I think if he put his mind to anything, he would be good at it.
Yeah, I watch him in that Tahoe tournament every summer. I watch one of my good buddies, Joe Pavelski, playing that, and it seems like Josh has fun playing in that tournament.
We'll be right back on You Heard. Stay tuned. Well, Logan, you've played in more than 900 NHL games, over 100 of those in the playoffs. What are some memories that you're never going to forget in your career?
Yeah, I've been fortunate. The first 10, 12 years here in San Jose, we had a legit chance to win the Stanley Cup every single season. And got to play in a Stanley Cup final in 2016. Unfortunately, we didn't win that. We lost to Pittsburgh. Game 7 against Vegas comes to mind in 2019 in the playoffs. We were down 3 goals. We scored 4 in a 5-minute power play and won that game in overtime. And then away from the Sharks, I won the World Cup in 2016 with Team Canada, and the tournament was in Canada. And that was special. That's something I'll never forget. Being a Canadian kid, you always want to represent your country, and Canada's or hockey is our sport in Canada. So that's something I'll always remember.
You mentioned hockey is Canada's sport, but it seems like every year the NFL continues to grow in certain countries, and Canada's, right over there, right next to Buffalo, not a far drive away. Is it time to bring a yearly NFL game to Canada?
Ooh, I mean, the Bills were going for a little while, right?
Hmm.
To Toronto there. I don't know how much success that game was generating. It seems like they're trying to expand over in Europe, and I know that they're finding some success over there. I have a lot of friends who are Bills fans in the London to Toronto area, so I know a lot of people would love it. We'll see.
So I want to talk about a guy on your team who has a bright, bright future ahead of him. Your teammates with the 2024 first overall pick and Macklin Celebrini. What do you love most about the way that he plays the game?
The first time I saw him play, I knew he was going to be a superstar. Some kids and players just have it. Tenacious, his drive, his work ethic, his skill level is obviously off the charts. To be the first player taken in the draft, you have to be extremely talented, and he is, and he's that good, and he's going to be that good. So Sharks fans are very lucky that we have him, and I'm excited to see what his future entails.
Comparing the NHL from when you first were drafted ninth overall in the 2007 entry NHL draft to where the game is at now, what are some differences that you see in some of the younger players now coming into the league?
That speed is the first, speed and skill. This game, I don't know if it does in football, but our game, it changes every 5 to 7 years, the style of play. And when I first came in, it was bigger and stronger players, and the game wasn't played at as quick of a level. The game's getting better. It's getting better for fans to watch. I think the NHL hockey is as good as it's ever been.
You mentioned younger players in the NHL. Well, in the NFL, you get drafted so young, and some of these rookies are really expected to perform in their first season. The Bills have gotten a lot out of their rookie draft class. And with that, you look forward to the playoffs. What's ahead for this team? What do you think this group is capable of in the next few weeks?
I haven't followed extremely close this past week, so I'm not sure what they're doing with who's playing on Sunday here. But I'm sure they'll have a good plan for those guys, so they're ready the following week. But I think for them, they're just trying to stay sharp, get some reps in practice, and be ready to go whoever they play.
Why do you think this could be the year the Bills make it to the Super Bowl?
I really believe that to get to the very end, you need to learn so many different things in the playoffs. And this team has obviously had its fair share of heartbreak with some of the players that have been there. And, I remember in 2017 when they made the playoffs, that game against Jacksonville, we had a hockey game, so I couldn't watch. I was devastated. And then the 2019 game, we were traveling when they lost to Houston, and they've had some tough ones against Kansas City since then. So I think they've learned from those games, and I would love to see them go all the way this year.
Well, Logan, thank you so much for chatting with us about this group, why it's so special, and sharing some stories about why you love following them.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
When we return, catch the highlights from this week's press conferences in Soundbite Roundup.
You'll see guys that typically don't get the ball a little bit more, but make no mistake about it, we still have guys out there that are starters for us and that play a lot, and again, their opportunities are just going to be a little more amplified on this game, but it'll be fun to watch them.
Josh is the best player in NFL. He's the best player in the NFL. He has the best coaches. He has the best teammates. Josh is the best player in this season on the football field. Josh is that. And I say it over and over and over and over and over again. What else does he have to do? What else does he have to do to show the world of why he's more deserving to hold that trophy up, the MVP trophy, and that he's not the best player in the NFL? The size, the speed, the athleticism, the leadership off the field, on the field, off the field, how he treats his linemen, Christmas gifts, all of it. Josh is the MVP every step of the way.
Cam's influence, and his playmaking ability, similar to Josh's in the terms of some of the, just taking over a game or some of the wow plays individually within a game, in different ways though, in their own way, in terms of the kind of the artistry of Cam, the artistry of Josh. So a lot of similarities just in terms of the impact, I would say, overall that they've had on the team.
Now he's going to take it and run, and he's got the first down and more. 10, 5, and muscles his way into the end zone for an unbelievable 26-yard touchdown run. Are you kidding me?
I can't even put it into words. He's just absolutely incredible. And, we've seen it, for years and years now, but it's like he keeps on outdoing himself. It's like every week it's another play, like, wow, like, that guy's incredible.
He's on a whole nother level, like, even from just outside of football, just the leadership role he's taken, everyone's just bought into it, and how much he means to this offense and this team, you can't put words around it.
I think he just keeps working his tail off. I mean, he keeps progressing his game in every way you can, protecting the football, making crazy plays downfield, extending plays, using his legs and his arm, and he's leading the offense. I think he's just got total command of what Joe wants him to do, and he's just finding the open receivers, and guys are making plays. I think we're playing really good as a unit, and it's just allowed him to play really free as a quarterback and do what he does best, and that's make plays for the offense. And he's definitely played at an MVP level this year.
Welcome back into Buffalo Bills Weekly. It's the final week of the regular season. The Bills will be on the road to face the Patriots. Buffalo's already locked up the number 2 seed, so this game doesn't impact the postseason at all for them. For the Patriots, with a loss, they would have the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The question here is, how do you approach this game for both teams? We heard from Bills head coach Sean McDermott. He said that Bills quarterback Josh Allen is going to start in this game because the consecutive start streak is important to him, but Allen's only going to play for a short amount of time, and then after that you'll see a blend of starters and then some guys who they just want to get a good look at before the playoffs begin.
Yeah, you can't sit everybody because you only dress 48 on game day, so I think the coaching staff will assess who could really use a week off and use this week as a bye for some of those players, get them rested up for the postseason, and then taking that a step further, you say, okay, what young players do we want to get an extended look at? Let's see what kind of progress they've made, and if they can turn in some splash plays in their performance, all the better.
Yeah, it's a good place that you want to be in right now for the Bills, a chance to rest some starters ahead of the playoffs. Nobody is complaining about that. For the Patriots, it's interesting because you don't want a coach to lose, but the number 1 pick is quite enticing when you already know you've got your quarterback in Drake May. We heard from Patriots head coach Gerard Mayo, and he said right now all the options are on the table. This was on Monday. What do you think this team is going to do?
Well, I think he absolutely does want to win the game, especially after they got embarrassed last week to the Chargers in a 40-7 loss at home. That is not a way to finish the season, so I think they would like to win the game, but at the same time, I think there's going to be pressure from above in the front office to keep Drake May's health intact, and that might mean he sits down this week. They've seen enough of him. They know he's their franchise quarterback going forward. And they have another rookie quarterback on the roster in Joe Milton out of Tennessee, who's got some athleticism and a rocket arm. It's an opportunity for him to get some valuable reps, see if he can serve as the backup quarterback going forward. So this game, I think they use as a tool for that purpose. And if they lose, it's not all is lost. If you have the number 1 pick and you already have your franchise quarterback, you can use that as a major asset to trade and maybe get extra first-round picks to really fortify a roster that desperately needs it.
Week 18 is the final week for Buffalo to work out any kinks that they have before the playoffs begin. You've seen this team trend in the right direction in some areas: red zone defense, pass rush presence. Against the Jets, they held the Jets to just 50% in terms of their red zone efficiency and had 4 sacks. Chris, what do you need to see out of this group in the final week of the regular season?
You're really just looking for clean execution in this game, and it's from the simple things like being crisp in and out of the huddle to clear communication between players on this field, especially young players that haven't had a lot of reps together. get the clear communication down, because as we know, the playoffs are a gauntlet. You're playing great teams every single week. You may need to call upon some of those young players if, God forbid, there's an injury here or there. So get those guys coached up and playing sound fundamental football in the event you need to call on them in the all-important games coming up.
You want to have everybody on your roster ready to go. That means practice squad players too, because you might need them come the playoffs. With a win against the Patriots, the Bills would go undefeated against the AFC East for the first time since 2020. You can catch the game this Sunday, January 5th on CBS. Chris will be on the radio with the call, so to hear him and Bills legend Eric Wood, you can listen to WGR 550. We want to thank you for tuning into Buffalo Bills Weekly. For Chris Brown, I'm Maddy Glab. We'll see you next week.